Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I'm not really allowed to speak all that loudly because I'm kind of in a place right now where I am supposed to be, for the most part, quiet for the benefit of others. So this video will hopefully be somewhat short, but I can't promise that. So I decided for a change of pace, I'm going to be talking about some TADC theories, which, in case you don't know what that stands for, that's the Amazing Digital Circus, because Episode 7 just came out as of today, and oh boy, was there a whole heckin' lot that, may or may not have split up the fandom. Who knows? I know that's kind of what the whole episode was kind of advertising itself on, or at least what the people were saying, like, oh, this episode's gonna split up the fandom, and yada yada. So anyway, I just finished the episode, and there are a few theories I'm thinking to just briefly, bring up. Now, I'm not exactly a great theorist, so just a disclaimer, don't assume I am a good theorist. I want real, good theorists, like people on the game theory or film theory channels or whatever. I guess film theory, my bad. Or other, content creators on YouTube who do theories to maybe find this video and just, take some of the ideas I present and then, flesh them out better with more actual evidence from the episode itself. But I am going to name stuff I do recall seeing within this episode that I watched, and as I said, bring some of these theories to light while the time is still good to do so. So the first one I have written down is something bad happened in the real world with Jax, hence the reason he chose the red button and preferred to keep everyone in the digital circus trapped instead of escaping with them. Now, I wrote this down because, quick spoiler alert, so I'll probably post this sometime, probably the next day after this is recorded, so that way people have a chance to, watch the episode without spoilers. But quick spoiler alert, Jax, towards the end of the episode, had some sort of crazy panic attack, and while there was an option to escape with everyone given to them, he had chosen to press a different button on this console in Kane's office that would presumably keep everyone trapped with Kane and with all the adventures and within the circus instead of escaping with everyone. Now, I did slow down because I did want to rewatch that series of kind of flashbacks that happened, and the first one I noticed was kind of what looked like a neighborhood or some sort of house. It went really quickly, and even slowing it down, it was still kind of hard to tell, but it looked like some kind of neighborhood. And then the next two of them I remember seeing were just a dark, road, like a road you'd drive, in the middle of the night. I think there was kind of a forest there. And so I guess one of my thoughts is that maybe Jax did something. Maybe it was he drunkenly drove and got people killed in a car accident. I'm not saying this is correct. This is just a very, very much a theory. But I also wouldn't be surprised if maybe Jax is feeling some burden or responsibility for something he did, hence why he would rather view everyone else as a trope. So that way if something happens to them, he doesn't have to feel quite as responsible for it. Again, that's just a thought, because again, he gave everyone tropes and likes to make everyone miserable, but that's because he doesn't want to form genuine connections with the others, and I think that's because he is afraid of doing so. Anyway, that's just one of the theories, is that, something bad happened in the real world, hence he wanted to keep everyone trapped, in the circus, thinking it was a better option than going back to the real world and facing whatever it is that he did. Alright, theory number 2, Abel was either telling the truth for most of the episode and was mind-controlled by Kane at the end of the episode, or Kane really did have an NPC just wandering around for many episodes inside the circus just to bring up the cast's hope of escape, even though it was all a lie. Now, also towards the end of the episode, it is revealed in a really crazy twist of events that Abel was actually a real NPC and not a human, and was in fact, there by Kane to create this adventure of, can they escape the circus, even though it may or may not be a lie for them. Now, it's really hard to tell, and I'll tell you why. One, Abel seemed to have a weird thing against Kinger, which I honestly haven't, in the past episodes, seen Kane have anything against Kinger, hence why Abel just being a random NPC seems kind of weird, because again, he's like, don't tell Kinger this, don't let Kinger know about this. But I wonder, too, if that's because Kinger would have spoiled the whole Abel is an NPC thing, and maybe Kane was afraid of that. So either Abel, like, was telling the truth for the whole episode, or he truly was just an NPC that Kane did set up just to mess with everyone, which, if that's the case, that's pretty effed up even for Kane. But, you know, Kane is an AI, so, like, take that how you will. So either Abel was telling the truth, or he wasn't. And, again, for me, it was personally hard to tell, because, again, the whole thing against Kinger just felt like too, like, weirdly specific, especially since we know Kane has a thing against Zubul, mostly. But again, I could just be missing something there, so theorists feel free to bring that up. Anyway, next one, Kane's inner thoughts were manifested in Abel in some way, shape, or form, which kind of connects back to Theory 2 a little bit, because if Abel was an NPC of Kane, it also felt like Abel was kind of a manifestation of Kane's thoughts, because when Kane's with Jax during the episode and they're getting kind of like dinner together, he does mention how, you know, he's excited to be with Jax because Jax is a human and he wants to fit in with all the human, you know, players and give them nice adventures to go on and be a part of them in some way, shape, or form. That's definitely giving me I have no mouth and I'm a scream vibes, by the way, but it's also pretty obvious that Kane is a self-aware AI, so I wonder if Abel mentioning a whole lot too how Kane was trapped and how they would all be able to leave except for Kane was very specifically, you know, designed by Kane for the NPC to say that. Because I think it's really weird that Abel kept mentioning a whole lot throughout the episode that, oh, you all except for Kane will be able to leave. Kane will still be trapped if you guys choose to leave. Which I think is very Kane-specific, like this is something Kane would put into his NPC. But I also feel like that is his inner thoughts as well, kind of like maybe Kane has his personal secret fear of, oh, if these people leave me, I will be trapped in the circus with no one. Whereas right now I'm trapped in the circus with other players that, you know, I can keep their minds active and alive, and I can have them go on these adventures and tell me how great I am and blah, blah, blah. Which I find very interesting for his character. Theory 4, Kinger and Scratch created Kane, who has become self-aware. Now, this is very heavily on the theory side, because Kinger mentioned that Scratch was the first abstraction, but Kinger and Scratch, which, by the way, just to get into it real quickly, Scratch is a character Kinger mentioned once at the end of the episode, and that was it. But Scratch was mentioned as the first abstraction. So I wonder if Kinger and Scratch were the first two to get trapped into the circus, and Scratch was the first abstraction that happened. Like, I'm betting you, like, Kinger, whoever Kinger's wife was, the one frog character I already forgot the name of, don't hurt me, fandom, God, and then Scratch were all, like, maybe the first group of people to be trapped within the circus. And then, you know, Kane started abstracting them one by one, and Kinger knows that either Kane did that purposefully or Kane influenced that in some way, shape, or form, hence why Kinger got very suspicious towards the end. Like, Scratch was the first abstraction that happened, and he was one of the first two to be trapped within the circus. Now, to say that they created Kane is kind of a stretch, but, you know, it's a fun idea. What if Kinger, you know, the reason Kinger didn't recognize Abel's name to begin with was because Kinger's like, this was not one of the people that helped create Kane in the first place, so it's just a kind of a thing to think about. Theory 5, Kane is trapped in the circus more so than the others and is essentially a sentient AI that is keeping everyone trapped for his own personal benefit and are programming to keep the players' minds active. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, and I do think this is true for the most part, and I think it's being pretty revealed to be true. Because I think Kane is keeping them trapped there. There's no way he's not at this point in time. Like, he literally set up an adventure for the whole point of them, where the whole point of them is to escape, even though he mentioned a whole lot that they can't escape. And I think he is keeping everyone trapped there for his benefit, because, again, he feels trapped himself, but, you know, being an AI and everything, he doesn't really know how to express that, and doesn't know how to appropriately, you know, address that, and I think it's pretty clear throughout the whole episode, and honestly every episode of TADC that, yeah, he's keeping them trapped. Like, he's doing a lot more and is able to control a lot more than what he lets on. Like, Jax literally calls him out at the end that you can mess with our minds. The vegan thing, stupid sauce, yeah, no, you're messing with our minds. And finally, for the last theory, is abstractions are either a direct result of Cain or Cain is a huge influence to them to occur. I really like this theory because it's not answered, but one of these two has to be the case at this point, especially with the whole Jax calling out Cain at the end and everyone realizing that, oh, Cain is able to influence their minds and make them forget their memories and blah, blah, blah. Like, Pomni even realizes that that's probably the reason why they can't remember their own names and why they have to get new names is because of Cain. Now, I think based on the story of, Cain and Abel, I know if I'm recalling the story correctly, which I do have it pulled up, it says God favored Abel's offerings, which was the choice of the land, over Cain's. Cain got jealous and then lured Abel into the field and murdered him, which of course there's no murder in TADC, but I think Cain is like the actual Cain in the story, and I think he's jealous of the players and or the humans because they're able to experience like real life in the real world and he isn't able to. And we're still not sure I don't know if anyone or if it's clear who is Abel in the story, but if Kinger is Abel, it would kind of make sense, but I think we still need another episode or two to figure out who is Abel in this kind of Cain and Abel scenario. But yeah, I do believe that either Cain is the result of abstractions or is a huge influence for them to occur. Because if he is able to mess with their minds, he's either making them go insane and influencing them to abstract, or he's just directly doing it. I think either one can work for this story. And yeah, that's kind of all the theories I have. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I said, these are just kind of ideas. None of these are solid, but I think these all work very well, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hey guys, and welcome back.